Welcome to the Ideal Investor Show. Join us on the journey to financial success. Let's go. Today, I want to touch on a topic that we had looked into in a slightly different context before, but that I want to bring up again in this new context. And that is that every so often, I run into people that got into real estate investing, and they can be our own clients, but they're also oftentimes clients who work with other organizations, mostly for other types of real estate investments. And they voice that they're not really happy with the result that they expected from their investment. And so that brings up the question, what can I do to lower the risk of being disappointed? While, and that's actually the point, while still remaining in real estate investing, because obviously you can lower or change the risk of investing in general if you say, okay, well, I invest some of my money in gold, which is very stable typically. I invest some of my money in stocks, which is much more volatile. I invest some of my money in real estate, which is in the middle between gold and stocks. And you might say, I invest some of my money in crypto, which is extremely volatile and goes up and down like crazy. And you can, sometimes lose a lot if you get in at the wrong time and then can't get out without a massive loss. So that's one thing of diversification. Now, within real estate itself, you can also diversify. And in my opinion, and what I wanted to point out and kind of like help you see, hopefully the same way, is in that kind of diversification within real estate, what you're really doing is diversify in the context of control. So what do I mean by that? If you buy a single family home as a long-term rental property where you have your typical 80% mortgage on it, the tenants are in the property and they're paying the rent, that would be the ideal case that is reflective of the pro forma that you received originally before you bought. Now, let's say there are unexpected returns. Maybe you have some bad luck with tenants that don't pay on a regular basis, or they don't treat your property very well. You have a lot of maintenance calls and repairs and so forth. So you might not actually get all the different income sources from the rent, from the tax returns and so forth that you expected. So after a year or two, when you're basically taking account of how did this really work out, you might say, well, I expected like 18% return and I really only got 8, right? So you might be disappointed. What would happen if you say, well, I really don't only want to be invested in these single family homes, long-term rental. I also invest in a syndication, basically an investment partnership. Or I also invest in tokenized real estate. Or I also invest in the stock market in so-called ETFs that are companies where I can buy stock or the ETF buys stock. And these companies have to do with real estate, like construction companies, property management companies, and so forth. So if you look at those different options, you're not really only lowering the risk, because obviously the more diversified you are, the lower the risk of one single investment, but you're also losing some of the control. In an ETF, you have no say whatsoever which companies the management is investing in. If you look at syndication, obviously you decide which particular syndication, meaning like property partnership, you're going into, but you don't really have any kind of significant control over what happens with that particular property. And then if you go to tokenized real estate, you obviously can decide for which properties you want to buy tokens, but how they are managed and so forth and how they developed in value, again, you have no control over. And then you compare that to your single family property that you buy directly. You own the title, you own the deed. Then you have 100% control. And if you don't like certain things, like for example, the tenants that are in your property, you can decide, okay, I'm not going to extend their lease agreement. Or if you don't like how property management is dealing with stuff, you can say, okay, I'm finding a different property management company to manage my property. So you have 100% control. So yes, you can lower the risk within real estate investing by diversifying your portfolio in different kinds and types of real estate investing, as long as you are aware that you are giving up some of the control that you otherwise have when you own the real estate outright. I hope this was educational for you. I wish you all the best. Be well and stay safe. And we talk about it tomorrow.